What's up everybody? Afro, STDs, just a basic Countersteer setup. Setup to start drifting is STD. Yeah, it's just a basic how you would do the rear and how we would do the front and why you would do it that way too. I can't just tell you, here, do this, and then not explain why we do it that way. This is not for everybody. It works for some people and then it doesn't work for other people. It's personal preference, but I can say I have about 20 guys at my club running this setup and it works very good. So first of all, we start on a setup. We start with ride height. Ride height is very important. We'll run the ride height about 2 mil or more lower in the rear than the front, so that we can build a rake, a constant acceleration, right? Like a boat. A boat comes out of the water flat, then it starts going up, and eventually it will go flat, but it still has a little bit of rake. Nose up, rear down. I think there's a song about that, but let's not go in detail about that. But yeah, ride height is next. Okay, so with ride heights, you obviously need something to measure ride height. Number one, you would need a nice smooth surface. This one's kind of old. This is an old Huddy setup board, but a nice piece of glass that's super flat. Please try and make it flat. It's very important. Otherwise you'll have tweak and all kinds of weird ride heights. And then an easy tool to get is a nice steel ruler. These guys are very trustworthy. They're strongest flip. We use them for measuring and for scraping my track. Or you can be super smart and go buy a Huddy wedge that has measurements on it. These are available from RC Mart. You don't have to get a Huddy one. I'm just being silly by buying Huddy everything. I know Yeah Racing produces awesome setup tools, which is available from RC Mart. But yeah, you take this bad boy or a ruler and simply you can, trusty GoPro, you can measure it by placing it, you know, on the base of your RC car, and that would give you a measurement. The best thing to do is obviously load the springs up, you know, place it there, see what you have. Or you can go load it up, you know, squat your suspension and, you know, get a nice measurement over here and on the other side. Measure it there. Now with a wedge, it's a little easier than holding a ruler, because all you do is you take this bad guy here, you slide it under your car, and wherever it touches, you know that's the measurement. Right? Very easy. Just slide it under there and you have a measurement. This guy's all wrong. You'll see it has 2 different measurements right now. Hence the fact that I don't even have tires on here right now. But anyway, so that's rear, right, measurement. And then the front, you know, you can slide it under there. The front's all messed up right now. There's no weight in this chassis. There's no electronics, nothing, no battery, so forth. It would sit a lot lower. And with ride height, I have to say I always try and have my lower control arm straight so that my roll centers are good, right? We'll talk about that a lot more further in the series. Yeah, ride height's very, very, very important, because I'm trying to form a constant acceleration in my chassis. It's constantly trying to push forward. right? As soon as I raise up the rear, the nose goes lower, then I'll have so much oversteer that it's very hard to catch with steering, right? And that's why I drop the rear, which means I'm building a wedge. Now wedge we'll talk about later on too. And yeah, sorry, I'm not looking at the camera. Yeah, so you know, we'll talk about wedge and why you want a wedge. And a really quick explanation for wedge is, if you watch the more higher powered, better setup cars in FD or you know, King of Europe in Europe and so forth, if you watch those cars, you almost see that the one wheel always picks up into the air, right? It's because they're trying to build the car so that it shifts all the weight to one corner, so that it runs on 3 wheels. And you'll always see equal amount of steering within the front. The reason for that is so that this wheel doesn't fight this wheel, right? And as soon as this wheel does its job properly and the wedge is there, the chasing wheel, if you want to call it that, lifts up. And that's sway bar and so forth and so on. But anyway, but yeah, ride height. That's pretty much ride height. You have to have a good ride height. Ride height's very important. That's step number 1 on a setup. If you don't have your ride height, you can't do your camber, caster, toe and so forth, because they all affect each other. So first thing to find is your ride height. I do ride height usually 5'7" on a CS car. Yeah, 5 millimeters, 7 millimeters. I'm not sure what that is in inches and so forth. But yeah, 5 mil, 7 mil on a CS car, it's golden. You can jump the car, it won't bottom out, it's still very nice.